Part 1, Part 2. Yes. Okay, folks. Hello, nieces and nephews. She always laughs. This is Tito Keith. We're fixing this is the third part in our little short series that we've titled Are American Women Losing? In part 1, just to kind of summarize real quick, in part 1, we talked about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm looking at my computer here just to make sure we stay on topic, because this stuff is so interesting and it ties into so many other things. I made a nice outline so we can get through it briefly, and I'm going to always say through part 1, part 2, and even in this part 3, this is the final one. If you got any comments, anything that you are surprised by, anything that you don't agree with, make sure and leave a comment or say something, so, or, maybe I can address it in another video, or just bring it up that, hey, one of our listeners mentioned this or that or whatever. In part 1, the part 1 video, we talked very briefly about Jesse Lee Peterson, Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels, Jordan Peterson, and others, and why we're seeing so many men get on social media, and they're drawing attention because so many folks are saying that they are hyper masculine, that their views are outdated, and it's people coming from a feminist perspective, and they really don't like it that these guys are talking about what men want. Very interesting stuff, and some of it is, we can say some of it is locker talk, which I really like that phrase because President Trump, and that seemed to be a thing with him, and everybody kind of jumped on and just couldn't stand it. A lot these guys, their stuff is focused on locker talk. One of them is Kevin Samuels. He says that there's 5 things that American men want in American women. 5 things: that they're fit, physically fit, that they're fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, and submissive. And then he goes into average men, high value men, below average men, and what's your it sounds harsh, but what's your worth and what you can what you can get, what you can't get. This is still in part 1. Went over being overweight and obesity in America among men and women, and fat shaming. That there's a loss. I find it interesting, but it's really, it's unusual to hear these guys, because they have no filter, that they're talking about fat shaming and how in American society we used to shame people, not punish them, but small behaviors that are a little bit crazy. We would shame people, and it kept people. Social shame keeps people, for the most part, keeps them alive. And we even actually, with fat shaming, in part 1, we did a very, very short little thing about Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle. It was 2 of my favorite comedians. We discussed, and we just talked about high value men, what men want in an American woman. Say it again. Men want women to be fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, and submissive. Now, one of the things that I don't know why women find this so surprising, but men have said in America, they have said this for years. And I don't know why women aren't listening. No, I should rephrase that. Why average and below average women don't listen to this. High value women have listened, but average and certainly below average women have not listened. That high value men, we talked about this, women who wear these long eyelashes, we don't like those. They're disgusting. It's distracting. We feel like we can't talk to you because there's like a bird flying around or something. Long eyelashes. These girls who wear crazy fingernails that are like this long, and then they paint them 8 or 10 or 12 different colors. That's disgusting. It just is. Long eyelashes, long fingernails, large earrings that are like huge round earrings that even touch their shoulders. That's just totally distracting, and it's ugly. Especially if you go overseas anywhere, most places, certainly Southeast Asia, when you come back, when you get there and when you come back, one of the things you really, really notice is how American women cake on their makeup. And in video one, yeah, in video one, I use the term, they look like circus clowns. The women just put all this makeup on, and it's just too much. And again, high value men, maybe some average and above average, but certainly high value men have been saying for years that they don't like that. The last one, again, maybe some average, high, above, a little above average, and certainly high value men, they don't like neon hair. And let's go ahead and say there's some average women, but certainly below average women. I don't know why they wear this neon hair when so many men, high value men, certainly above average men, has said that it's ugly. They don't like it. And by neon hair, we mean hair that's green, blue. What's some other colors? Green, blue, pink. You look like a clown. It's just you. I don't know if anybody remembers RuPaul, and you should look that up if you don't. It's just R-U, and the second name is Paul, P-A-U-L, RuPaul. It was a guy, a drag queen, and he would wear all kind of crazy colors in his hair. And in the 70s and 80s, we laughed at him because it was a joke. It was a serious joke. He was a drag queen. But today, with so many people, it's normal. And higher value men do not like that. Video 2, we discussed real briefly the rise of masculine behavior in American women, and how women, which has really been interesting to see, how American women are becoming more masculine and American men are becoming more feminine for various reasons. Femininity is one of the bigger parts. And in video 2, we briefly talked about a couple of vloggers in the Philippines, and it's really interesting because they're criticizing American culture and they're criticizing feminism in America and American women, because so many men are coming to the Philippines from Western countries, for sure. Oh, where did it go here? Oops. Let's get back on track. Did I lose both of my videos? Yeah, now we're talking. I thought I lost video 3 there for a minute. All right, so this is 3. We kind of set a baseline, and in this video 3, it's going to be shorter than the other 2. Again, we talked about Kevin Samuels and his term, excuse me, his term, what he calls sexual marketplace value. And that doesn't have an awkward sexual connotation to it. It's just what he calls sexual marketplace value. And from a business person's perspective, you will understand that completely. What is your marketplace value? What is your value in the marketplace? And then add, for a man or a woman, what is your sexual marketplace value? Let's see, what should we do first? The sexual marketplace value for a woman and for a man. I don't know if Kevin Samuels coined that, or if it's been around for a while and he's borrowed it from somebody else. But what he does is really interesting. He acknowledges that we all do it naturally. We judge women on a scale of 1 to 10, and men on a scale of 1 to 10. And then most people in America are an average. They're about a 5 or a 6. And again, it's 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, for women and for men. And that most people in America are a 5 or 6. One of the crazy things that he points out, or that was really surprising for me to hear, is he says women that call into his show, almost universally, they are 5 or 6, and they judge each other. And he'll allow the woman to let him judge her and give her what he sees are all her faults and past history or whatever. And she will admit she's a 5 or 6. But she wants a man who's an 8 or a 9 or a 10, which means he's a high value man. And when we say, there's several other parts to it, but high value men is a man who's making $250,000, $300,000 a year. So an average woman they have such high expectations for their men, but they have low expectations for themselves. And what he does such a good job at is he lets these women know that high value men have, and this is Samuel's word, high value men have options. They have a lot of options. As you come down the scale, average men don't, they have average options. And he points out all the time that it's interesting to see how high value men accept just the mentality of men and women in America. Average men accept that they are going to have average women, but average women want a man who's a number 8 or 9 or 10, and just the craziness of how that sounds, that women have such high expectations. Even one of the funniest ones is women who call into his show and he'll say, you're a 5 or a 6, you're not going to get an 8 or 9 or a 10 guy. And women, this is kind of a cruel, it's kind of a kick in the shin, but so many women who say they're average, they'll get on his show and they'll say, I have no problem finding a man. And Samuels will say, you have no problem finding a man to have sex with, but nobody's marrying you. There's a difference. It's because you are not a high or higher value woman. Those men up there, they pick from high value women. They're not picking average women because they have options. And it's just so interesting that women, American, and again, throughout this series, part 1, part 2, and part 3, I've said this several times. This is about American women, not women overseas. This is strictly about American women. Because I'm here, I see it, I know it. I talk to other American men, and this is what we talk about. A lot of women don't know it. That's why I said earlier, locker talk. There's things that men talk about that you just don't let American women know, because you just don't let them. Let's see. Kevin Samuels saying you have no problem with men sleeping with you. Let these women go find men. They sleep with all kind of guys, but they can't get anybody to marry them because they're average women. And that's number one. Number two, one is they're average women, and number two is they don't want an average man. They want a high value man. That's why they can't find anybody to marry them. Another thing that several of these guys point out, let's see what some of these are good, is that average American women, they say all the time, where have all the good men gone? And these guys make the very good point. It's average American women say, where have all the good men gone? And these guys are saying they didn't go anywhere. They're just not chasing you. In fact, they're doing their best to stay away from you. Your pink hair and your green, they're staying away from you. They're running from you. Long fingernails, you're overweight, you got 3 kids with 3 different daddies. They're staying away from you. Now, average men, and these guys, their point, all of them say this, average men may accept that. Why? Because they don't have very many options. They can pick from average women to below average. But high value men can pick from average to higher value and high value. So these higher value men, they are doing their best to stay away from you. In fact, they don't even go into establishments where you go. Waffle House, McDonald's, Walmart, they don't even go there because they don't want to be around pink and green hair and long fingernails and makeup, eyelashes that look like this. They don't want to be around that. Another very important, and again, this is part 3, and we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. Another really interesting point is Samuels makes a solid point to say that when, for a woman, your sexual marketplace value, this is such an interesting point. For a woman, your sexual marketplace value peaks when you're 18 to 26 years old. After 26 years old, 27 to 30, your sexual marketplace goes down a little bit. 30 to 35, it goes down some more. 35 to 40, as a woman, the older you get, your sexual marketplace value goes down and down every couple of years. It continuously goes down. So you're in a constant a constant phase of entropy, that you're constantly losing your sexual marketplace value. And that these women who are 35 and 40 and 45 years old, they're wanting a high value man. Well, not only are you overweight and too many kids with too many daddies, you're wearing caked out on makeup, your sexual marketplace value, and you're 35 or 40, you're not gonna, for the most part. Now some will, because some women just can maintain their youth, and they just do. So they're going to be a little more successful. But at the same time, men, well, why do they lose their sexual marketplace value? It's because American men want women who are fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, and submissive. And today's today's American woman is becoming more and more not that. So they're losing that as they get older. But men, to compare them to women, when men are 18 to 26, they have a very low sexual marketplace value. Why? Because they don't have any money. They don't have a house. They don't have a good job. They're still working with their self up. They haven't established themselves. High value women are not going to look to these guys because these guys have not established themselves. But when these guys are 30, as a woman's sexual marketplace value goes down, a man's goes up. 35, man, it goes up higher. 40, 45, why? Because they are establishing themselves in their career. They're earning more and more money. They're surrounded by other high value men who have connections. They have a home. They got a secure. So a man's sexual marketplace value is always increasing, while the women are always in entropy and theirs is decreasing. I find that absolutely fascinating. That's why, which is a really good point that I just thought was fascinating for Samuels to say, let's piece all that together. That's why you have men who are 40, 45, 50, who have a high sexual marketplace value, have a girlfriend that's 25 or 26 or 27, because she also has a higher sexual marketplace value. That's a very, very interesting way to put it, even though a lot of people look down on that. But I think that is that's absolutely fascinating for him to the way he puts that together. One of the sad things that ties into this, I think, who was it? I think it was Samuels that said, men who are in their 50s and their wife is in her 50s. He said, I get more attention from a stripper and a prostitute, a 22-year-old stripper or prostitute, than I get from my own wife. That's sad to hear men say that in America. Samuels, in keeping with the sexual marketplace value, he reiterates through some of his vlogs that women just have their expectations for men are just too high, and their expectations for themselves is too low. And we're just about to wrap up here. A very good example of that, I think, is Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle. And I said earlier, two of my favorite comedians. They make this really, really good point that you see on social media and TV, whether it's TikTok or whatever social media. You have these women who are overweight and they're wearing bikinis, or they're doing some sexy pose, or I'm in Cancun and they're wearing bikinis that they shouldn't be wearing. Women who are overweight, or women who are 45 and 50 and they've really lost their body. But their fellow girlfriends will say, "You go, girl, you look beautiful." Because women are always being told that they look beautiful by their girlfriends, right? "Oh, you're so beautiful." But that we don't fat shame anymore. And what these guys say is, if you're a girl, if you're a female and another female friend of yours is in the street, you guys just went to a club and you walk out of the club and your girlfriend, your friend, is laying in the street throwing up because she drank too much. You wouldn't say, "Go girl, living your best life. You look beautiful." You would say, "Hey, you got a problem." Hopefully, because it's unhealthy and it's dangerous. But on this aspect, I hope women would say something. But on this other one, that's just as unhealthy, being overweight, they say, "You go girl." That's just absolutely fascinating to me. We said fat shaming. One of the interesting points that I ran across was, I think this lady was in California. Her name is Rebecca Lynn Pope. She was a professional female matchmaker. She had a dating service. She helped women find boyfriends and husbands. And she did that for several years, and she quit. She said, I quit because all these women in America, they're overweight, they have too many kids, they're loud, they're not feminine, they argue with everything. You can't find a good man for women like that. So some of the women their expectations were too high. And again, it goes back to average women wanting high value men. But yeah, she was a very famous professional female matchmaker. And she said, I'm giving up on that business because women have their expectations American women, their expectations are too high. That's crazy. Let's see. I'm going to give you, let's see, there's one, there's two. Yeah, we'll give you 1, 2, 3. There's one vlogger in the Philippines. Her name is Filipina P, P-E-A, because her nickname is P. So the name of her YouTube vlog is Filipina P. And she explains a lot of travel stuff in the Philippines, a lot of regulations, laws there, requirements for foreigners, especially Westerners, Americans in particular. And she's very outspoken about feminine and about women in America and how feminine has broke down the female, just the female side of things in America. Let's see. She does a lot of commentary about American men coming to Philippines and even to Thailand. And so much of what she talks about is that how Filipino women are fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, and submissive compared to American. And you can say, oh, she's never been to America. But she's comparing it to what she sees in movies and what she sees because they have American television, American news, and she sees the comparison. And there was one of her videos one day, she was talking about Filipinos being family oriented and that they've stayed away from feminism, because this is her exact words. And she was talking about America. She said, talking about feminine and the breakdown of the family and how women are just becoming more masculine. And her exact words were, and it made me sit back in my seat. She said, "There's something wrong in your country." That was kind of shocking to hear a foreign lady say that about women in America. There's another one, another YouTube vlogger in the Philippines. Her name is, I can't remember if it's Mia or Maya, but she gives dating advice and she kind of jokes about American women and what she sees on American women's YouTube and some of their vlogs. One of her funniest that I saw, she said, American women are always saying, where have the good men gone? How come we can't find any good American men? You know, we all we have here is just trashy American men. Where have all the good men gone? And Mia says, they came to the Philippines. I just think that's hilarious. Let's see, high value families. Let's do the one more. There's one other guy who's really good. He's actually got 2 vlogs. He lives in, I might be wrong, but I think he lived in Thailand for about a year. But he's been in the Philippines for 7 or 8 years, I think. He's married to a Filipino wife. His first vlog is called The Black Filipino. Black Filipino. He's a black American who lives in the Philippines now. Kind of like the Filipina P. He talks about life in the Philippines and traveling around, where you should visit. He does a couple of videos. He'll go to different cities, just showing some American men that want to come to the Philippines, where you can go, how to get around, hotels. But that's his first vlog, and he calls it The Black Filipino. And it's about traveling and how to come into the Philippines, all that. His second one is called More to Life, his second vlog. And he's a little more harsh on that one. He talks about what's called passport bros. And this is, I'd never heard of it till just a few months ago. But it's sort of a newer term, and it's initially, it began among black men who they say they were tired of American women, so they're going to Philippines, Thailand, Brazil, wherever. And they started calling themselves passport bros. Well, it expanded, so all Americans, American men, they're calling all of them passport bros. And his vlog is about not to criticize men who are going to Philippines, Thailand, Brazil, what else he got? Mexico, Singapore. One of the funniest things he does on his vlog is he shows American women. There's so many American women on TikTok talking about passport bros, and how American women talking about how insulted they are. I think that's absolutely funny. I think we're going to wrap this one up. That was a pretty good 3-part series. You guys, it's our women, our American women failing. Look for part 1, part 2, and part 3. Go through and watch them, and let me know in the comments. Give me some ideas. Tell me what you see, what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like. I want some comments. I want to hear it, because there's so many people have sent me private messages. Some of them are pretty harsh, and some of them are actually pretty cool. So thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe. Help us support the channel. Subscribe, like this video, share it on your social media. Thanks, you guys. We will see you next time.